Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for waiting late. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. I am so well represented in Congress by my good friend, Mark Pocan. You are doing a wonderful job for us in Washington. And I heard that my friend Gwen Moore was saying some awfully nice things about me. Thank you, Gwen. Thank you. It's an honor to be here with Tim Kaine, one of the best members of the United States Senate. I'm very proud that he came to Wisconsin. Hello, Milwaukee. Thank you to the Milwaukee County Democratic Party for hosting this event. And I want to first thank my friend Mike Tate for his years of service to the party. Being party chair is not an easy job, but he's brought a level of energy, innovation, intelligence, and success to the job. It's a tribute to him and a tribute to you. Thanks for working so well together. My friends, you show up for the fight over and over and over again. You fought even when people told you you couldn't win, even when they told you it wasn't worth it to try, and even when it just seemed like about everyone, including massive corporate interests, were against you. I am grateful to you for your determination, absolute determination. So let's talk about where we're at right now after all these battles. Let's talk about where we are as Democrats. Let's face it, people are pretty down right now. But let's not forget that we as Democrats have had some real successes in the face of big money opponents. We re-elected Barack Obama and elected Tammy Baldwin to the United States Senate. But we know that as a party, we haven't seen much forward movement lately. In fact, we really haven't gained much new ground in the last few years. Now, part of that is because of things outside of our control, like the shameless exploitation of the Citizens United decision by billionaires like the Koch brothers. But let's face it, the consequences have been severe. After 2010, when things didn't go our way, what happened? Republicans, arrogant from their victories, began to take ruthless advantage of the hard-working people of Wisconsin. They tried to turn neighbor against neighbor, working man against working man, divide and conquer. And then, the most cynical ploy of all, they started to find ways to lower voter turnout. That deserves hissing. Now, why are they doing this? It's certainly not because voter fraud is a serious problem. It's not. The numbers don't lie. It's because the GOP knows it is not the party of the future and its days are numbered. That's the reason that they're doing this. That's the reason they're pulling all these stunts. The GOP is shamelessly using every tactic and gimmick they can to keep Wisconsin's most disadvantaged and vulnerable citizens from voting. You know what that is to me? Nothing short of a crime against the people of our state and our country. That's a crime against American citizens. Democrats, we are the party of the future. But only if we listen, and only if we act. We don't win seats by fighting yesterday's battles. So right now, in the run-up to the 2016 election, it's time to start turning things around. We need to win back this U.S. Senate seat, don't you think? We need to win Wisconsin for our presidential nominee. And we need to increase our numbers in both the state Senate and the state Assembly. And then, in 2018, we will re-elect our great Senator Tammy Baldwin. She has done the serious bipartisan work a senator should do, fighting for rural access to health care, affordable higher education, and protections for Wisconsin's railway systems. And also, mark my words, we'll elect a Democratic governor in 2018. We will, as we continue to increase our margins and our numbers in the Assembly and the Senate. And then, together, by 2020, we will elect a majority, Democratic majority, in both houses of the state legislature and return to the great Wisconsin traditions of cooperation and progress. A 6-year plan, my friends, a 6-year plan. 6 years from now, we'll meet again and look back on the great changes we are about to make by working together. And it all starts today. So what do we have to offer the people of Wisconsin? Replacing these Tea Party Republicans with responsible Democrats is important. And together we're going to make that happen. But that's not enough. We must elect leaders who fundamentally respect and listen to all Wisconsinites. But that's not enough either. We've got to do something else. We need to put an end to the relentless mocking and personal attacks by some of the ultra-wealthy and powerful on the hard work that we all do as Wisconsinites. We all work hard. We're all part of the Wisconsin story. Why would people put us down? For too long, Republicans have tossed aside Wisconsin's tradition of respect. For too long, they've talked down to so many of us from their perch of privilege. For too long, they've ignored people's daily efforts to provide themselves and provide for themselves and create opportunities for their families. And just like the attack on voting rights, the efforts by the powerful to make people feel defensive about their work, trying to make people feel bad about what they do, is a cynical political strategy and an attack on Wisconsin. And this cannot continue. We have to resist this. My friends, no more of this. It is time to honor everyone's work. Let's honor everyone's work. Stop denigrating the hard work that people do every day. Let's honor everyone's work. You know, it wasn't always this way. As you know, I actually grew up in the state of Wisconsin. Growing up in Janesville, we were taught to respect everyone in the community, including the wealthy in our community. We honored their work and the contributions they made to building Janesville and all of Wisconsin into a better place. In fact, the 2 high schools in Janesville were named after the 2 leading industrialists in Janesville history, George Parker and J.A. Craig. But we didn't just respect the wealthy. We respected everyone. And I remember the wealthy in turn valuing their employees, their neighbors, and their communities. Employees weren't seen as expendable business assets. They were seen and treated like people with families and beliefs and dreams like everyone else. That's what I remember. Building a culture of respect isn't easy. It takes work. It takes a spirit of community. I was taught this lesson by my mother and father. Every year when we visited the Rock County 4-H Fair, as I understand the very first one in the United States, something I have frequently mentioned, of course, as a kid, I wanted to head straight to the carnival, the midway, the rides, the games, and the cotton candy. But my dad would say, "Rusty?" Oh, yeah. Till I was 12 and said it was Russ. "Rusty, first we're going to the barns to visit the farmers." Some of them were my father's clients. And as we spoke to the parents and watched their kids take care of their animals with pride, my dad insisted that I honor their work and see how our success was connected to theirs and theirs to ours. I have carried that lesson with me to this day, and it is at the core of why I am running to represent all of Wisconsin. All of Wisconsin. In fact, last week my campaign sent out an email to supporters with the subject line, "Russ is not a fireboat pilot." And it's true. I certainly have never been a fireboat pilot. But for someone who contributed to our campaign, that's his work. We also have among other supporters an astronomer, a baker, a steel worker, and an alpaca farmer. So we sent this email as we wanted to hear what other kinds of work our supporters do and why they're joining our campaign. The response has been phenomenal. People are ready to make changes. We heard from a building inspector who wants to see some honesty return to the United States Senate, an air traffic controller who supports our campaign because we won't sell out to corporate interests, and from a retired teacher who thinks it's about time we started treating our educators with respect for a change. So you may be a CEO, you may be a teacher, you may be a firefighter or an accountant or a scientist for the DNR. You may be a single mother. You may be a single mother with multiple jobs just to pay the bills. But when we wake up in the morning, we all put our trousers on one leg at a time. We all count. We all matter. And we must never tolerate the attitude of those who suggest that the rest of us don't contribute. So how do we return? To a Wisconsin that honors everyone's work? The first thing is to put an end to the GOP using the corporate-written, anti-worker, anti-middle-class playbook. That's not who we are. That's not who we are. Our policies should once again come from Wisconsinites, based on our needs and ideas, not the template funded by the GOP's billionaires. First, how about no more throwing away our jobs with secretive trade deals that are sold on the false promise of elusive global profits? That's not the Wisconsin I believe in. In the 1990s, NAFTA was passed, and it cost us jobs and seriously damaged our middle class. I thought it would. I voted against it, and it did. And we all know it. We all know it did that. My opponent knows it. He just doesn't care and refuses to admit the truth. He calls our job losses creative destruction and is perfectly happy to sacrifice Wisconsin jobs at the altar of his personal ideology and his corporate friends. As far as I can tell, he doesn't seem to care very much if our jobs are secure or not. How about not pretending anymore that science isn't real? Just to make a buck at the expense of our health and environment. When science tells us that climate change is a threat, our elected leaders need to say, how do we fix it? Not, we don't believe it. That's not the Wisconsin I believe in. Just look at what's happening in China. They've chased after that extra dollar at the expense of their environment, and now they can't even breathe the air many days when they walk outside. How about we give up the rigid partisan ideology that repeatedly shuts down our government for no reason? That's not the Wisconsin I believe in. My opponent prides himself on being a business guy, but what business person in his right mind would threaten to shut down operations every few months because they don't like a new health care bill or a new executive order by the president on immigration? None of them would. But that's exactly what my opponent has sometimes appeared to be willing to do since the day he got to the Senate. He doesn't really care about making government work efficiently. He's very honest about that. It seems like he just wants to shut it down and outsource it like a manufacturing plant in Wisconsin. And can we stop attacking programs that help our young people go to school, help our new mothers care for their children, and help families find affordable health care? Attacking these programs is not the Wisconsin I believe in. And not everyone can be a multimillionaire who pays cash to send their kids to college or can afford to pay full price for the most elite private medical care. But that doesn't mean we're not good parents, children, role models, and citizens of Wisconsin who deserve to enjoy our lives and our families like everyone else. So what positive things can we do to honor and assist people's work? As much as we need to acknowledge the bad policy and attitudes that need to change. Just opposing a political party or any one elected official won't get the people of Wisconsin where we need to be. There is no quick fix. We need a positive agenda, a job-creating, family-supporting agenda that's based on opportunity for all Wisconsinites. An agenda that channels the optimism that courses through the veins of the people of Wisconsin. Because no matter who you are or what kind of work you do, you should be rewarded for your hard work. You should be able to make ends meet and have some time to enjoy your family. Everybody should get that for working hard. We need to build and rebuild the infrastructure that Wisconsin desperately needs to grow. Providing opportunity, creating jobs, and keeping us safe. That means doing the job of maintaining our roads and bridges, railroads and airports, and also focusing on the infrastructure supporting our energy use, water management, and telecommunications by making sure all these things are sound and can support Wisconsin's economic growth. Let's lead with that one. Take our roads, for example. We need reliable roads to ensure the continued success of our beautiful farms and delivering products. In the many rural areas here in Wisconsin, people travel farther for access to education, health care, social activities, and retail needs. And we deserve safe and accessible roads to get there. And if you're like me, and you want to get around this wonderful state and enjoy all its beauty, then those roads also must be well maintained so that excellent tourism industry in Wisconsin can remain vibrant. I can't think of a better or more needed jobs program than rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure. Everyone knows our nation's infrastructure is an important investment, and it is in great need of attention. That means now is the time to prioritize these needs and address them. It also means prioritizing access to broadband internet. You know, this is critical to starting and growing so many of our small and rural businesses. Broadband internet access has become fundamental to our lives. Banking, applying for schools, medical care, distance work, and education. But it is still maddeningly inaccessible to far too many Wisconsinites, especially those in rural or disadvantaged communities. With all of our wealth in this great nation, the United States still ranks 20th in the world in access to broadband, over 50% below the best nations. Yet study after study has proven that when we invest in broadband access, job creation and economic growth follows. My friends, many of you in this room taught me that in the 1930s, electrification brought America's rural communities into the future. Dairy products could be refrigerated and production increased. But it took our investment. And yes, it took a partnership between the federal government and local stakeholders. That was a good thing. Today, we must do this with broadband access, what we did with electricity, because broadband should be treated like a public utility that opens the door to a new future. So farmers have direct access to worldwide market for their crops. So Wisconsin small business owners don't have to rely on the whim of a corporation like Charter to provide the kind of reliable and affordable internet access that lets them expand their local businesses or start new ones. So residents in Wisconsin's rural communities don't have to drive too many miles for basic health care access. And so high school students in rural areas have the same access to information as other kids. It has to be that way. And we need to invest in the opportunity for everyone who contributes to our state, especially those who face the greatest challenges. Our veterans. Our veterans. We sent a generation of America's finest to the Iraq War under false pretenses. Only to offer them inadequate support when they came home. Whether it's fixing a broken VA system or investing in job training programs, we need to make a stronger commitment to our veterans. Our farmers, including our dairy farmers, the backbone of Wisconsin, our farmers have faced disrespect and financial indignity far too long, and they deserve representatives who won't brush them aside. Low-wage workers who deserve our respect, who deserve our support, and who deserve one thing above all else, a raise, and now. A raise, and now. We need to honor the contributions of Wisconsin women and recognize that women's rights aren't just personal civil rights. Women's rights aren't just the economic rights of even a family. Women's rights are universal rights that make us all more free. Finally, we need to empower the next generations, the same way our parents did for us. In education, every dollar we invest in educating our children comes back to us exponentially in value to our economy and our families. Fix crumbling schools. Get kids started with access to early childhood programs. Respect those great teachers that are essential to the development of any child's future. In higher education, college costs an arm and a leg. Just because the costs keep going up, that doesn't mean we can allow the four-year degree to become the sole province of the rich. My opponent is opposed to all government-assisted student loans. By the way, never heard of any other congressman saying that. And thinks we should be cutting Pell Grants because he thinks not every kid needs to go to college. He actually said that. You know what that really means? It means that when he looks at your children, he thinks, what opportunities do they need to be useful to me? That's what he's thinking. I look at your children and I think, what opportunities do they need to be useful to themselves and their families and have an exciting and meaningful future as citizens of this great state and this great country? That's what I think when I look at those children. Thank you. It's good to be back. And you know what else? We need to honor the desire of our youngest generations to serve, both domestically and overseas. I hear from so many young leaders today about serve and their desire to serve and solve both big and small problems. We are blessed with a young generation of doers. I know, because early in my tenure as President Obama's envoy to the Great Lakes region of Africa, I visited a camp in nearby Goma, Congo, where tens of thousands of internally displaced persons were living in extremely harsh conditions. They had been dislocated time and again by one of the most brutal and deadly wars since World War II. As I got out of the car to be briefed on the situation, I was greeted and given a tour of the camp by a young woman who had grown up on a dairy farm near Tomah, Wisconsin. Her name's Nicole Weber. And she appeared to be in charge of the basic needs of thousands of suffering people at a very young age. She told me that she simply felt compelled, after graduating from college and then learning about these tragedies in the Congo, she felt compelled to act and do something about it. So what did she do? She went from Tomah to Goma, my friends, because she wanted to serve her fellow human beings. How admirable of that generation. So, whether it's our government or simply all of us as leaders in our individual right, we need to give our young people the opportunity to think and act boldly and throw themselves into making a better future for all of us. My friends, I don't need to tell you, our great state has been under attack for 4 years. But this can still be the Wisconsin of my childhood and our upbringing. The values of hard work and community, they are not gone. I know we all understand what's possible for Wisconsin's future, with opportunity and innovation and mutual respect pushing us to great things. This can happen, but only if we listen and only if we act. Wisconsin cannot afford any more politicians like Ron Johnson who run for office apparently only to serve people like themselves. We must seek to represent all Wisconsinites. So these changes must start, and they must start today. So, my friends, I've decided by the end of this year, 2015, I'll go and visit each of Wisconsin's 72 counties again. Who would do something like that? Who would do something like that? Actually, I've missed doing that, and I look forward to doing it all over again in 2016. But I won't be going to each county to lecture people, tell them that they just don't understand America's problems, or that they're not paying close enough attention. I won't be doing staged events where the majority of time is eaten up with a State of the Nation address by a politician seeking re-election. No, I will listen. I will listen, as I've always done. I will listen first, at workplaces and work sites, at coffee shops, and the fast food restaurants where a group meets every day at the same table to, in their words, solve the world's problems. You know they say that at every single place. And it's so fun. I will listen at state, county, and local parks, at summer festivals, from the great Summerfest here in Milwaukee to the Wisconsin State Cow Chip Throwing Festival in Prairie du Sac. And I'll listen at senior centers and college campuses and high schools all over the state. And if people want to talk, I'll ask them what kind of work they do and how they feel about it, how things are going for them and their families. And what about the federal government? What is it doing right? And what is it doing wrong? Yes, this is in part about respect for the wonderful people of this state and their opinions. But it's also just the best way to learn what people are thinking and feeling. Not by repeating the same talking points from Fox News that are identical in every state, but by listening to that great reservoir of common sense, the views of the people of Wisconsin. And after listening throughout the state and taking some time to reflect on all we've heard, we will build this campaign together. We will build a Wisconsin of progress, hard work, and respect. And yes, we will wrest control from those who put others down while their profits rise. And we will work hard as we honor everyone's hard work. And my friends, we will win. Thank you so much.